Hi, my name is Mike, and this is part 3 of Your Redemption Draws Near. I'm talking about signs of the last days. As I read in part 2, these birth pangs are going to get worse and worse until the birth of the man-child is birthed and caught up. Revelation 12:1-5. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there was another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and to his throne. So only after the birth pangs and birth is the child or the gathering brought up to the throne of God. So, like I said, only after the birth pangs, then the birth comes, and then will the child, the elect, be caught up to be gathered to God. Also, another sign of the last days is Israel being 74 years old now. Israel became a nation again in the 14th of May 1948. So 74 years have gone by. In Scripture, Jesus states that in Matthew 24:32-34, now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, signs, Jesus gave about the last days, wars, famine, pestilence, earthquakes, etc., you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. What generation? The generation that saw the rebirth of Israel, which is now 74 years old. And how much is a generation in Scripture? Well, if you read Psalms 90 verse 10, our days may come to 70 or 80, if our strength endures. And Israel, or Jacob, was strong. He wrestled with an angel. You can read that at Genesis 32:22-32, and prevailed. So 80 years. I believe we are very close to the end, as we are the generation that will witness the return of Jesus Christ. The Pharisees and Sadducees, for example, though they were well versed in Scripture, could not see the signs and thought Jesus was a false prophet. It was kept hidden from them, but only a few knew of the times they were living in and that the Messiah was right there. Another big sign that we're in the last days is we're at the 120th Jubilee year since creation. Every 50 years is a Jubilee year. 120 Jubilees is 50 times 120 is 6,000 years. It's been 120 Jubilees from the time of the fall of Adam in the Garden of Eden, 3974 to 3973 BC, and I'll leave a link to this article. 50 Jubilees from Moses. This is the 50th Jubilee, was to Moses receiving the law at Mount Sinai, 1524 to 1523 BC. 80th Jubilee reached there when Jesus began his earthly ministry in 27 to 28 AD. Now we are at the 120th Jubilee, 2,000 years after the death of Christ. Why is that important, you might say, for the end time signs? Well, remember when God told Noah to build an ark, God said this to Noah in Genesis 6:3, and the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. So God told Noah that in 120 years he will send a flood. That was all the time man had before destruction. Now we are at the 120th Jubilee. There is nothing new under the sun, as it states in Ecclesiastes 1:9. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. We are in the last days, but some will still not believe this message and reject it. These ones are written in scripture, in the parable of the wise and unwise virgins. And I'll read that in my next video. God bless you all. Bye-bye.